Good evening and welcome to another Army Ran Listener live stream. I'm Master Sergeant Tim Donnie, and tonight we actually have a great show. It is the 30th of March. March is Women's History Month, and we have some amazing Army leadership in here. So me being the only male that you want to see on the screen, I'm going to disappear for a while. I'm going to hand it over to Shantae, and I'm going to come back later. Y'all have a good one.
All right. Thank you, Tim. All right, so as Master Sergeant Donahue said, it is the end of Women's History Month, and we thought, what other better way would it be to close this month by bringing on some leadership, some women that are in leadership across the Army. So joining me tonight, we have Colonel Harris, who is stationed at Fort Bragg. We have Sergeant Major Beauregard, who is stationed at Fort Knox, and we have Command Sergeant Major Richardson, who is out there in Hawaii. So we're going to kick off the show with Colonel Harris. Ma'am, if you could go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get to where you are right now? And you're muted.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Again, that was previously stated. My name is Colonel Frederica Harris. I'm originally from Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana. But of course, my kids, my family, they kind of call Hampton, Virginia home. I have been in the military. I've been on this journey for the past, I would say probably 29, 30 years. I am prior service. So I was once a PV2. Back in the day when we were 76 Victors, Yankees, that was my MOS. So I used to be a supply sergeant. I obtained the rank of a staff sergeant when I decided to transition, go back to school and get my commissioning from St. Augustine's College, now university, commissioned as a quartermaster officer. Since that time, of course, I have served in a litany of positions. I have been a platoon leader. I have been accountable officer. I have been a company commander. I've been a battalion assistant, group S1. I've been an assistant SGS. I have been a battalion XO, an ops officer, battalion commander, and of course now I'm serving as the 406 Army Field Support Brigade commander. Although I just rattled through my previous assignments relatively quickly, but the time did not go by quickly. It was some years in the making. So, you know, sometimes when people look at as us, especially with the other group of young ladies that I'm on this panel with, or sharing this space with, some sergeant majors and the command sergeant majors, we did not get here overnight. It has been a journey. And of course, I did not get here on my own. I have the support of my family, also the support of my mentors. I have several. I have both male and female mentors, and I have some mentors that look like me, and I have some mentors that don't look like me. So it's a group, a diverse group of mentors that I have that have helped to aid and guide the success that I have obtained thus far. So of course, I don't want to talk a whole lot, and I can answer any type of questions. But again, and then who I mentor now, I serve as a mentor for several lieutenants, captains, majors, and some lieutenant colonels. And I am a true believer of we did not make it to where we are on our own. We made it by someone taking the time and invested in us. And then I have a responsibility to do just the same. And it is my commitment that I will do it. I will continue to do it. And I'll keep doing even after I take this uniform off, whenever that time comes. But that's just me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Well, I definitely appreciate you being on the show tonight, ma'am. Soon as Master Sergeant Donahue knew that this was the show we wanted to do, he was like, I got the perfect person for this show. So we couldn't wait to get you on here. Another person who I was pretty excited to get on here was Command Sergeant Richardson. I never met her before, but, you know, I've seen some of the people I consider mentors sharing some of her lives. I've started watching her videos. So I just knew that she was going to be another perfect person to have on the show. So Sergeant Major Richardson, if you could please let our audience know a little bit about you.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you. For one, thank you for having me. I am honored to be here and just speak and share. That's one of my passions. From a small town in North Carolina called Zebulon. You know, I will tell, I love to share my story. So I was a young teen mom. Came from a dysfunctional and what most would call a poor home. My grandparents and parents worked in the field or under the table, but still went on through that challenge. I still graduated high school. I started college originally at North Carolina Central University before I was approached by a recruiter. And then the recruiter came to me, like the cadence says, and he offered me all three. He said, I can give you benefits. I can, make sure your child is taken care of, and you can get your education and a paycheck. And I signed up. And from there, I'm very thankful and grateful for the opportunity. So I was originally at Bragg for my first 7 years in the military. From there, Fort Gordon, I was an instructor. I was a drill sergeant. I've had 2 deployments, one Iraq, one Afghanistan, first sergeant for 3 companies total. So every position from commo chief until command sergeant major. Recently, I left Fort Bliss, 86 ESB, which is an expeditionary signal battalion, as a command sergeant major. And now I'm here in Hawaii at 516th Signal Brigade. So signal is my background, but my passion is definitely mentoring, taking care of, and leading soldiers, which is why I'm glad to be a part of this forum. And I know we'll get into the questions, so I'll keep it short there. But I love PT and I love soldiers. So I always say the legacy I leave will be the soldiers that I lead. So I'll leave you with that as we get into the segment.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sergeant Major. So again, continuing this trend, I was very excited to have this show because I'm staff sergeant, obviously by my rank and my name right there. But, I've been looking as far as like trying to find mentors for myself as well. So the show was very like special to me to have like some leaders out there that I don't even know. And Sergeant Major Beauregard, she was at Fort Knox at the Retention College. And again, I've heard so much great things about her. I've never worked with her, but she's definitely a leader in the retention field. She's a career counselor like myself, probably one of the top tiers. So I'm going to let her explain a little bit about herself as well. Sergeant Major Beauregard.
Hello. Thank you for this opportunity. I never take the opportunity to speak before people lightly. So thank you for this chance here. I joined the Army out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and I joined straight out of high school. And my original MOS was a finance specialist. And back in that time, finance was an actual unit. It was like a battalion of soldiers. And I loved that job, loved it. I did a few different assignments as finance. I was stationed in Korea, Fort Hood, did a rotation to Kuwait. And once I came back, I was put on an assignment for a recruiting detail. And while I was out on recruiting detail, I seen the trend that finance was going in, and I was in Miami, Florida, actually on recruiting. And it's a beautiful place to visit. Beautiful place to visit. I don't know about living there, but it's a beautiful place to visit. I was there recruiting, and I seen the trend finance going. They were adding more civilians, and it was being turned into a different type of environment than it was when I came up. So with the writing on the wall, I wanted to do something different. And from recruiting, I crosswalked to be a career counselor in a 79 Sierra. So that was in 2007. So from there, I went back to Korea. And I went to Fort Lewis, Washington, Fort Jackson, South Carolina, where I was an instructor for a few years. Then I went to Fort Bragg. At Fort Bragg, we went to Fort Riley and then to Fort Knox. I had the opportunity to do a deployment as a career counselor in Afghanistan, and that was interesting. Like the other lady said, I got here off the backs of not just my seniors or people who stopped to encourage me, but also the people that worked for me. In the Army, you're a success not by yourself, but because you're able to lead or at least motivate other people to be successful, and that successful comes back to you. You get credit, so to speak, for that. So I'm definitely a product of that, product of great people I've had the opportunity to work with and for. Excited to be here and excited to answer any questions.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to kick off our first question. What obstacles have you faced as a female coming through the ranks? Let's go ahead with Colonel Harris.
Well, it's almost like I had to take a pause, a deep breath. So, obstacles come in various forms. But what I would say, just to give a scenario, having good leadership, it really makes the difference. I just remember as a second lieutenant, of course, being tasked to do a no notice platoon rollout, preparing my platoon to roll out our all of our equipment. And it's as if I could not get our platoon situated and ready to roll out of the motor pool. Of course, an activity or a task that should have taken us all of 2 hours, 4 or 5 hours have now passed, and we still couldn't get out of the motor pool. We couldn't get our dispatches done. We could not do proper PMCS. I mean, we just couldn't. We just had a lot of things that was just going wrong during that particular time period. And so during that time, I'll say, you know what? I think we probably just need to do a restart. So I'm just going to go and talk to the company commander to see whether or not he will allow me to do it. So I went up and I talked to my company commander, Captain Todd Bertulis, who's my commander at the time. I said, sir, hey, we just can't get out the motor pool. And I said, we probably just need to do a restart, do it over, because it's just so many things that have gone wrong. And what he did was, he didn't yell, he didn't scream. He says, LT, no, just keep pressing, keep getting after it until you get it done. Because what you're going to do is you're identifying what the requirements are, what it will take, or what it takes to get your systems and processes in place to be able to get your platoon out of the motor pool and be able to execute your rollouts. So one, the obstacle was being frustrated that I could not lead my platoon to get a simple task done, looking back at it. And then two, still having the intestinal fortitude to go and have a conversation with my company commander in a way, and not blaming everything is my platoon's fault. I owned it. And I just told him, I said, hey, we just got some work that we have to do. And because he saw that I was committed to, and hopefully that's what he saw, that I was committed to wanting to get the job done and wanted to do a restart, but not understanding, even if I do a restart, I have not gone through the entire process from cradle to grave. So still being able to work through that and not being frustrated or given a no quit type of attitude, I was still able to work through that. And then went back to my platoon. Hey, you're going to keep pressing till we get it done. We're going to identify and capture what those steps are. And we will continue to, now we have something, a baseline in which we can now practice what is required of us in order to do it. There are some tasks that are with the responsibility that resides with the platoon sergeant. There are some that resides with my squad leaders, and then there are some that reside with my soldiers within my platoon. So it was that example that helped me to formulate a no quit attitude, an attitude that we are in this thing together, and we can do it together if we are willing to put our best foot forward. Erase all of the complaints, or no, we can't do it. It's not no, is we can't. It's how do you get to the yes, and how do you overcome your shortcomings?
Gotcha. Over. Awesome. So that is really awesome. I haven't been in the Army that long, but I just know that about 6 years ago, I was doing a female engagement team type thing. And I think that, as a person, one thing that I tell myself is just coming along the ranks, as a woman in the Army, my goal is to always be an asset and not to, hinder the mission. So just hearing your story about overcoming that frustration, because, the last thing I personally want to do is to even allow anyone to think that, I'm angry or I'm frustrated. So it's great to hear that other people like yourself have come through and, overcame those obstacles. Command Sergeant Major Richardson, I have a question for you. So we wanted to know, are there any programs that are available now in the Army that you wished were around when you were coming up in the ranks. So I forget if you told us how long you were in the Army for, but back then, did they have like a SHARP program, an EO program?
Back then, well, 23 years ago does not seem that long, especially when you're out here still pushing and hanging with the troops. But no, honestly, and that kind of ties into the obstacle question, right? Because, I'm here to keep it all the way real. A lot of the programs, I think the Army is headed in a great direction. And like I tell all leaders, if you're not willing to adapt, learn, adjust, and educate and support, then it might be time to, move on out. Because such as having the policy about lactation. I told you when I came in, for one, I was a young mom. So trying to figure out being a teen mom, being a new soldier, being at Fort Bragg, right? And anybody else at Bragg, know Bragg is Army, right? And trying to figure all of that out. And, even though I wasn't far from home, I was on my own. So how do you juggle that without support? Because the system you may have is not right there. So now that we have policies about, they just changed recently the amount of time to recover, the 12 months recovery time after having or delivering a child, right? They changed the lactation policy, which has been a few years now, telling leaders to accommodate. And if you think about Sergeant Gorham, the recent drill sergeant graduate that had to, while she was in drill sergeant school, figure that out and be able to still pump and provide, but execute and did it well and ended up graduating. So some of those opportunities and how we're changing policy now wasn't afforded to some of us initially or back then, as you say. So does it assist? I think so. And in line with your purpose here in retention, it helps because all of us join for a reason, for whatever our why is. It could be being a young teen mom. It could be getting out of a situation that you came from, whatever the reason. And I will guarantee you that most soldiers and individuals just want to be great. They want to do great, right? Sometimes we look at the 10% and think, oh my God, but that's not the majority of the Army. So being able to accommodate what would be, I guess, compared to, the real world, right? How do we keep quality leaders? How do we keep quality soldiers? How do we retain by having programs such as that? So everything from the lactation, even the earrings, I did a video about the earrings and everybody, a lot of people that are still in their feelings about the earrings, but it's bigger than females being allowed to wear earrings, right? It's again about retention. It's about, not just the pride and being in touch with yourself, but even if we take the focus off the earrings and look at the change, we change some of the language in the regulation, right? So it's bigger than an earring and a female, but we tend to still make it a gender competition when we're all out here. Look at the Sergeant First Class Simmons of the world. Look at the First Ranger officers, right? We can compete. It's just the opportunity has to present itself. And then those people that really want it are going to excel, period. So I can go on and on. But the lactation, definitely accommodating, giving females 12 months, especially with this ACFT, and some don't need it. Got it. Again, going back to the Sergeant Gorham reference. But given that time, it makes you comfortable in knowing that I have support and I'm able to get back into the groove. So now I can take care of my family as well as, be able to get out here and compete and still be successful in my career. And now look at the males. We have the paternity leave extension where a year or two ago, they were able to get 21 days versus the 10 days. All of those things are great and family oriented. So we can keep families together and be able to still soldier and be able to have careers and be able to thrive. So again, I can go on and on. But that kind of ties to my obstacles and having to overcome those. And yes, definitely being resilient and coping. But it also goes to show that Army leaders, Army regulation and policy see it, and we're finally getting it right. So thank you.
Of course. So,
and if I could, I'm sorry, if I could just add just a little tidbit to what Sergeant Major said, which was very profound. When you talk about the different programs that are available. And it's because of the why, going back to what Sergeant Major Richardson just said, right? It's the why you join. And people join for whatever reason. And some may not have joined because some programs were not available, i.e., someone who elects that they want to have a family. If just a female or a woman in the military, just because I joined, it doesn't mean I can't have children while in the military. allow me to do that because it's a part of life, right? Because life happens, there are programs that promotes keeping the best of the best soldiers in the Army and in the military. And by doing that, you allow and you create different programs to allow them to continue to serve. And we're not pacifying people. It is giving them a platform to continue to serve because we do want the best of the best. And then, of course, as leaders, we can discern between those that are trying to get over, those that are trying to milk the system, and then we make the right adjustments or whatever we need to do as leaders to exit those individuals that are abusing the system. But for the most part, people are looking to stay and be a part of something great. And it's because of what we have done, created those different programs for individuals to continue to serve. But I think that was great. Great points there, Sergeant Major.
It sure was. Okay. It's kind of hard to follow that one up, but kind of leading up to the next question, Sergeant Major Beauregard. So as a 79 Sierra, how we are in a very male dominant career field. What are some ways that you've been able to set yourself apart?
Oh, that's a good question. I would have to say, first off, just being true to who I am. In our field, and I assume a lot of fields are like that, or any microcosm within the Army itself, it could be cliquish, right?
Yeah.
And you feel like in order to achieve a certain rank, or in our case, a lot of times it's a position, you have to be a part of a clique, and once you're in this clique, you have to do what they do, think how they think, and I steered away from that as best as I could and just tried to remain true to me, because I can't perpetuate somebody else, or I can't do anything better but me. I can perfect me. So I just tried to stay true to that first off. Um, I tried to stay on top of everything, when promotion boards, which they're a lot different now, right? But when promotion boards came along, you never knew what they were looking for. So it was always my goal to try to tick off as many things as I could, military ed, civilian ed, PT, NCOR, sharp. Like I just tried to do the best I could in every area, and that's what has worked for me. Just staying true to myself and doing my best, making myself my own competition. For me personally, I'm my worst critic, so it didn't really matter to me if this person thought I was doing great. It mattered to me what I thought. So holding myself to a standard and just trying to keep it together.
Awesome.
If you don't mind, and I hate to switch subjects, but man, Sergeant Richardson, you said it, right? So, and I felt it, and I really feel it, especially the comments you made about the nursing and the time for recovery for childbirth. So I was 32 when I had my first child. I was a sergeant first class in the Army, 12 years in, and had my first child. And I felt like that first 12 years, I had given the Army everything I had, because up until that point, I was single. I wasn't married. I didn't have any children, and I had nothing but time. So I was the go-to for the details, the extra hours, and etc. So when I had a child, that 6-month recovery, man, it hit you over the head. Like, it's just not a lot of time to get back right. And you find yourself under a lot of pressure and stress to, get back to that standard, or not. And for me, it was always more than the standard. Like, I wanted to get back to that 290 plus. I wanted to get back to that 300, and it was hard. I mean, it was hard. It was bad enough that I was older, having a child anyway. Then I had my second child at 34, and that was even harder, bouncing back after that. But I encountered with my leadership some hiccups. When I got pregnant with my first child, my CSM told me he wanted to replace me. And he actually contacted my command career counselor and asked if he could, because he did not want a pregnant soldier in his unit. He wanted everybody to remain deployable. And I'm not going to say names, because, I'm grown enough and mature enough to Army to know now that I could have started a lot of fire with that if I wanted to. But At that point, I was just kind of in shock, that such a thing would happen. And with my second child, I was a senior in a brigade, and someone had told me that someone made a negative comment that I went on maternity leave and left my battalion counselor in charge, and and said that was a negative thing. And I'm thinking, what else? What was my alternative? I had a child, so my other alternative was to have the baby and come right back, or work from home. So just sometimes and this was 2014, 2016. So even after some of the changes the Army has made, some of our leaders still embrace that mentality that, and this is something I was told when I first came in, the Army wants you to have a child, they give it to you.
Right.
Some leaders still have that mentality, unfortunately, but I will agree that the Army has come a long way. And thus far, so as the leaders, we have a younger generation of leaders coming up, and they think different, and I think it's excellent. I think it's going to be great for the future of our Army. I'm sorry, I just wanted to add that.
No, that's great, Sergeant Major, because you were right. Because I remember I had my first daughter in 2013, and I think that's when we still had like the 6 weeks of maternity leave. So just seeing how far we've come now, it's amazing. So I'm really looking forward to being around for more of these changes. But so we're gonna bring back Master Sergeant Donahue, because he's like one of your guys. He's like all your guys' biggest fans. But Sergeant Major Richardson, I see you.
Let me get off the screen again.
No, go. You good. You more than welcome, Master Sergeant. But I just wanted to, because kind of what Sergeant Major just said, it's still happening, and that's why forums like these are important. That's why us as senior leaders. So when I did put in my earrings that day and told everyone it's okay, it's still leaders out there that are looking sideways at people because they're wearing earrings in this uniform. All right. So that's why I wanted my soldiers to know it's okay. If you want to do it, do it. And if you need me, I'm here to support you or to let people know that it is okay. So to go back to even the pregnancy statement, and I'm not sure who's up here, but like I said, I'm gonna keep it all the way real. I had a call from a soldier the other day because her commander stated that maybe she shouldn't have been a mom, right? Because she just got off of maternity leave. So for one, I was proud that soldier trusted me, and mind you, only been here 3 months, trusted me enough to call me to vent, to share, and to trust me enough to handle it, right? Because again, it could, be bigger than this, but also it is important that, for one, those young leaders are educated. And at the same time, we as females in the service, we as leaders in the service, not just females, we stand for what is right. If the standard changed, the standard is the standard, not the one you created, not the one you came in the Army on. Whatever the standard is important that we enforce that standard, but also that we educate, but we talk about it. So we do have young leaders, soldiers, males and females, that are willing to come to the leaders that are doing the right thing and enforcing those standards, and either vent, talk about it, get guidance. And that's the same thing when you talk about sexual assault and harassment. It's going to start at the junior level. They're the majority. But until they know that leaders support, intervening, and leaders support the process and the system, and it's a priority, it's going to continue. So these forums like this, and then us in leadership positions, we have to do better. When you go back to being in a male-dominated career field, right? Now, it also takes us as leaders and as women in the military to do the right thing, to know those standards. Like she said, she stayed on top of it, right? We have to stay on top of it. We got to be just as competitive, go just as hard, take pride in who you are and what you do. And then when you do see another peer or a young leader out there that's going left or right, the other day, someone, had the earrings in and PTs. Maybe they didn't know, maybe they didn't read. So, I sent out a message to this side of the street, and I was like, hey, this is happening. Make sure we educate again our team members. And it's that sharing of that knowledge, but letting them know it's okay to talk to someone, to seek a mentor, and just having mentorship is a whole nother conversation. But having that conversation so people understand what mentee and mentor relationships are, so they know it's okay and they have someone to go to get that information, is important. So thank you again for this forum.
Man, this is motivating me so much. Oh, wow. Tim, what you got for us?
All right, so we got some questions from the audience. Joel Nunez asks, what are some things you've implemented in your formations to ensure females do not face the same obstacles you have faced throughout your career? So I made you interested.
If you don't mind, I'll start because it's fresh and I'm excited about our program. So again, I've been here March 9th, made about 90 days. And Hawaii had it the first time when I was here, but I noticed it kind of faded. And then it seems like units are bringing it back due to the Fort Hood incident and Vanessa Guillen. But Sisters in Arms has always been a big thing to me. And it's not to exclude our male counterparts. All of us said it here. We have various mentors, but throughout my career, my primary mentor and still now is a male, right? I have, since being more senior, encountered more females that I talk to and dialogue with and get, some mentorship from. But that got me and guided me through my career thus far have been male mentors because they are the majority. So our Sisters in Arms is, I think, going to take off, is doing great. USAHA and the rest of the USA pack here local is on board. But we just talked about mentee and mentor relationships. For Sharp Month, we're going to talk about sexual assault awareness and prevention, and not the Army check the block talk. We're talking about sexual miscommunication, how you think someone like you and, but don't feel inclined to go that extra mile if you're not ready. So really having those tough talks for the Sisters in Arms, females, and then including those males so they understand why it's important to understand, even just the breastfeeding and how it can affect the females, or the structure and what we can handle and what we go through, or being a mom and having the spouse and having a family. And then they can get that understanding. And I always ask even our guys to look at it. What if it was your daughter or your wife or your aunt or your mom? Then they look at it in a different light. So it educates them too as well. But our Sisters in Arms is an initiative here that we're using to try to talk to them and give them some lesson learned and also keep them educated. I'm passing the mic.
Yeah, so for me, of course, my organization is predominantly civilian organization. However, I have the luxury, because it's a predominantly civilian organization, I get a chance to roam across all of the my footprint that I cover. So my brigade, we cover everything east of the Mississippi. And of course, my corps is 18 Airborne Corps. So I have the opportunity to kind of mingle with soldiers that have absolutely no threat. But again, it goes back. The Rocks Inc. is a mentorship program that has been in existence for years. It is a platform where any junior officer or any NCOs, warrant officers, can join and be a part of this particular platform. And it's a no threat environment where anyone can come and have a conversation. And it gives an opportunity for a mentor and mentee to connect with one another. And then too, I also encourage and challenge junior soldiers and officers. When you see a senior, don't be afraid to engage them. Go up to them. And it was a learning experience for me when I was a lieutenant. Don't allow that opportunity to pass you by. Because the road that you're traveling, someone has already gone down that road. So there's no harm in you asking the question, one, stating who you are, where you're from, and there's an opportunity that I can hold a conversation with you. So that creates an opportunity for a discussion and a conversation. And then it gives you someone that is a no threat, that is an external ally outside of your organization. To Sergeant Major's point, you're open in your willingness to share some issues or concerns that you may be having in your organization. And you can have someone just to take an anonymous look into that organization. Because guess what? That person may be a battle buddy of yours, or you may know or know someone that knows someone in that organization. Say, hey, you may want to take a look. Because the optic that you're sending is maybe not matching, your audio is not matching your video. And if that is not how you intended to be, then you need to do a self-correct. Because if not, you're leading yourself down the wrong road. And then it's, you can always get, perception is, almost 100%, right? So if I perceive it that way, then it's up to you to correct that perception. And you have to be willing to do that. And then just going back to some of the earlier comments that was made about leadership in position now, as we all sit, on this venue, we are now the theys, right? That we once, when we were much junior, we aspired to be. So we are now in a position that we must make a difference, that we must ensure that the standards are met, that we must correct things that are not in align with how we as an institution should be operating. We are the days now.
Right.
So we have a responsibility to ensure that though the new programs, the new Army regulations that has now been published, the beauty of the Army, we write everything down. That it is clearly understood and they understand what that means. Are you really interpreting it the right way in which it was written? Or are you trying to put your own spin on it? So it's up to us to make sure that we are upholding the standards.
Awesome. Awesome. Wow. Whew. I knew I was going to love this show. I hope everyone watching this show is getting the motivation and the inspiration like I am, because, man, I'm over here taking notes of like all these lines that I'm going to use one day. But you got anything else for us, Sam? Or I'm sorry, Tim?
Yeah, all the 3-letter words that end in M, they're all the same, right? Sergeant Major Bo, this one's from Andrew Sadler. Sergeant Major Beauregard, what's something you could pass on to future female career counselors? And you could just also say what you want to pass on to me.
Hello?
Can you hear it?
Oh, I got an incoming call.
The question was, what is something that you could pass on to future female career counselors? And Sergeant Donahue.
Future female career counselors. Okay. Now that wording throws me. Future female career counselors meaning people who are going to change into our field, or future leaders in our field?
Future leaders in our field, to MLHU.
Okay. I can't speak, and I love everything the Colonel CSM are saying. But I can't speak for them or their experience, but I know for myself coming up in the Army in general, not just being a career counselor, I ran into, there's a lot of stereotypes associated with female leaders. Maybe that's the easiest way I could say it. And, there's stereotypes that we're catty, we can't get along, you can't have too many of us together, etc. And I did personally experience some female leaders that seemed like they just did not work well with females. And what I would suggest to any female career counselor or not is to, as you become a leader, as you progress in rank, you have to remain approachable. You have to remember that we're just people, and you can't charge everybody up. You can't just fly off the handle. You can't be an emotional leader. By emotional, I mean react without thinking. I don't mean you can't have emotional or be emphatic, but I'm saying you can't just be reactive. We don't do well with reaction. We need to be proactive. So I would encourage every female leader to remain approachable through the ranks and to be empathetic. That goes a long way with your soldiers, especially in an intimate setting. If you're able to relate to them and show them where you've been, be able to understand where they're coming from, at least hear them out, maybe not agree, but at least hear them out and then get their understanding, get their perspective, and then offer them something that they can glean from you. I think it works well. If we're talking progressive like positions and promotion, I say go for it. There's nothing you can't do. A lot of times we are told we can't do this and can't do that, but like Citizen Richardson said, females are doing everything now. We're combat arms. We're doing everything. There's nothing you can't do. So if you want to, go for it. And if you don't get the position, don't let that knock you down, because that was a no for a reason. Maybe something else was coming up grand for you, or maybe that was a learning lesson for you, a lesson learned. But I would first say, remain approachable, be empathetic, and go for it. Don't be afraid to go for it.
All right, we got a comment from Felice Hart. She was a former guest. Sergeant Major Bo is my forever mentor, and I will always co-sign that as well. Shout out to Felice. She stayed up late to watch you, so you got fans all over the world. All right. So we got another question from Kendra Ford. What advice would you give females who are in units where the female population is extremely low and may struggle with the feeling possibility of losing their identity with being in a male-dominated organization? I really want to know this answer too, because one day I might be in the opposite situation. Anybody who wants to take a jump on it?
Okay. I'll jump first. First off, mentorship is important. All right. I will start there and then I'll build, right? Because being in a being the minority in that population, right? Who are you going to seek advice? Who are you going to vent? Who are you going to tell something's wrong if it is wrong, right? And I got it. We have all the EOs and the inflicts and the sharps, but if they're not the same gender, or you're not comfortable, or you don't trust them within that organization, you're not going to go to them. So having a mentor in our careers and in life is important. Colonel Harris said it earlier. We don't do this alone. You're not successful in life by yourself. So that's the first thing. And then remaining not only relevant, but being able to ensure that we're pulling our weight. I'll give you another example. My first unit when I was a S6, right? I had my OIC, she was very prissy, and nothing wrong with that. But the expectation for others to carry your bags or carry your weight or do your part, that's the wrong answer. And I'm not talking about work division. I'm talking about we all soldier up, right? So I can't take your PT test for you. I'm not going to carry your ruck for you. So we got to sometimes get out of that stereotype and be able to, and if you are, in need of a little more assistance, use some personal time, some own time, talk to a mentor. How do you build up to being able to maintain your weight and do your part, but ensure you're doing your part in your weight, and then have a voice. Everybody has a voice. It's how we voice it sometimes becomes an issue. Right. So if you don't have people within that organization, again, to talk to, and maybe it's not a mentor, there is a chain of command, there is a support channel, and there are other avenues. But don't just, when you stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. So don't be that type of person. So we, again, going back to the intervention piece, even if it's discriminatory, if it's sexist, if it's racist, we got to get better as a collective group in the military of saying something. So if you see something, say something. And again, it's how we say it. So I'm not saying put leaders on blast in the middle of command and staff, but again, doing your part and then raising it up and hopefully using your channels. But when you don't say anything, then you will continue to be treated that certain way. Because sometimes people don't know. They're used to a certain population. I'm used to, we'll go back to the combat arms comment. They're used to operating together in a certain way. So how do we also assist and train our battle buddies, our other counterparts, on how to incorporate what is expected? Okay, I don't appreciate that language, right? This offends me, and give them the opportunity to adjust. But people don't know what they don't know. So until we say something, sometimes, we're not giving them the opportunity to learn or fix. So it's a lot of parts in there. So I would say ownership, accountability for yourself, but also don't be afraid to say something. And then seek that mentor, that outside person for your advice or assist you as you're going through the ranks, career, or in that formation. That's my 2 cents.
Great answer. Great answer. Anybody else want to chime in?
Yeah, and I think note to self, I need to jump on before Sergeant Major, because I know she pontificates. No, it's all good. but excellent points. Some of the things, a few of the things that I would say, just as Sergeant Major kind of mentioned, you have to have external allies, and that those are those individuals outside of your organization, again, that you can vent to, that you can have a conversation with, that you can seek counsel with. And then, of course, of being a logistician, within our field, it's almost like it's a balance for us to some degree with male and female. So I have led both males and females, but as an officer, I have found myself to be maybe the only female officer in the room at the table. I have always, in most cases, maybe the only African-American female, the only African-American in the room. But we're in the Army, and there are some standards that we must meet. And if you want to have a seat at the table and you really want to be able to remain at the table, you have to meet the standard. And we promote on potential. And it's not the bare minimum continues to get elevated, right? It are those that are doing above and beyond what is required that sets them apart from just the average person, right? So we spend time in our craft. We know our craft. And we are relevant because guess what? You know your business, and no one knows it better than you. And when asked the question, you have to be able to articulate and respond in a manner in which anybody can understand it. If I'm talking about my job to a private, if I'm talking about my job to a sergeant, a staff sergeant, a sergeant major, a lieutenant, or major, or lieutenant colonel, it does not matter, or the general officer, it does not matter.
Right.
You have to be able to articulate your skill set at every echelon, right? And it takes time, it takes practice. It doesn't happen overnight. So that means you have to invest in oneself to make sure that you are indeed relevant. And with us, it's a competition. Even if I'm competing against myself or I'm competing with my peer to my left or to my right. But in most cases, when you're competing with yourself, you want to put your best foot forward. And you don't want to just do the bare minimum when you're competing with self. And when you're competing with self, self outshines anything that's to your left or to your right, because you know you have put your best foot forward. And now you're being recognized for putting in some extra time. So that's one of the things that you definitely have to make sure that you do. And then, hey, this is the business that we're in. We're running with the big dogs. There are no puppies that's running out with the army. Okay, because puppies are left on the porch, and that's where they tend to remain. But if you're gonna run, you're gonna run with us. And I'm gonna carry my own bags. I don't need anyone to carry my bags for me. And regardless if you are very dainty, or me, I grew up as a tomboy, and so you can, regardless, I am very secure in who I am, and I know what it takes for me to be me.
Right.
And everyone else around me will understand and recognize who I am, and I'm not going to pretend to be anybody but me. But in being me, I'm very respectful. I'm very competitive. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I love sharing what I do and teaching someone else, building a bench. Because when we take this uniform off,
Yep.
I know for sure this organization is postured with someone that's going to backfill Colonel Harris uh, in the very, very near future. Over.
Go ahead, Sergeant Major Bo.
Uh, I'll be quick. Uh, they said it all. They always do. I agree, ladies, but I just wanted to speak from my experience as a battalion career counselor, um, working in an infantry battalion, and actually deploying with them. And I think I get the gist of struggling with that, losing the identity because you kind of want to bond with the group,
Mm-hmm.
and you find yourself maybe taking on some language that you normally wouldn't take on, or you find yourself taking part in activities or being a silent observer of some activities that you normally wouldn't partake in when you're in a group surrounded by males. So uh, I understand that losing the identity part, and I think that's where it's important. Again, like Sergeant Major Richardson said, you have to have a mentor and you have to have someone that can keep you grounded. You have to have someone to keep you accountable. So outside of that organization, you need a friend. You need a
Yeah.
buddy that you can reach out to and just run it by them. Do a quick check like, hey, we did this and that. And that buddy should be uh, close enough to you and have enough fortitude to say you did what or you
Mm-hmm.
watched what, and reel you back in, because I understand that it can happen. You can get caught up in that environment. That's how lynch mobs used to happen. People get caught up in it. And that's what you have to be careful of. You can't get caught up in the excitement or getting caught up of wanting to be accepted so much that you start modeling those same behaviors. So it's important that you have to have someone outside of that organization, someone that knows you, knows your true self, and you are somehow familiar with your values, your moral aptitude, that could reel you back in. I think that's important. That'll help keep you from losing your identity.
Mm-hmm.
No, I definitely agree. I just wanted to make sure that you saw this point, Bo, because I know you probably didn't see it. So I made you, Bo. Mark Thompson, the 14th sack of the United States Army. He wanted to make sure that I said that don't be quick, be bold. Notice how quick is capitalized. That's after Matt Quick. So you want to be like Bo. That's what I tell myself every day. What would Bo do? Like, you know how some people have the bands that have what would Jesus do? I have what would Bo do. But with this conversation, just I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
He's over there fangirling. Hold on, go ahead.
Hey, no, the conversation is great. We have a great time. We're running close to the time that we got to wrap it up. So usually what we do on here is we let the guests give a shout out to whoever they want to, and then we close it with a shout out to. So Mitch Richardson, who do you want to shout out? Anybody particular, organization, anything you want?
Man, we'll be here all day, but I'll do it quickly since you said no. All the Sergeant Audie Murphy clubs across the Army. Of course, the Voice of the Pacific. So if you need signal and you're talking out here in Japan, Guam, Okinawa, daggone Alaska, Hawaii, it is 5/16. So, of course, my team and then all my previous soldiers, you know, the soldiers I've led or the legacy I leave, and I'll continue to leave it.
Obviously, by the comments, I can tell you have a lot of soldiers. Your legacy is very deep. There's been a lot of people fanboying over on the sidelines on you. So obviously that legacy is strong. Colonel Harris, anybody you want to shout out?
Well, of course, you know, shout out to each and every one of you that's actually on this platform today. And thank you so very much for the opportunity to be a part of this venue. You know, to some degree, like I told the team earlier, I feel like I'm an oddball in the group. But I definitely want to shout out to anyone that is seeking any type of counsel. I am on the global, Colonel Frederica Harris. I am here for you. And I mean it sincerely. If I cannot find the answer for you, I know someone that knows someone that can find the answer for you, and we will definitely make sure we get that answer back. Then, of course, if you're ever in the Fort Bragg area, or if you find yourself operating within my battle space, I have everything east of the Mississippi. I am your single face to the field for Army Material Command. Everything that the soldier eat, wears, sleeps, shoots, do anything with, AMC provides. And I am here to make sure that you get what you need. And then regardless as to where you are, I have battle buddies within your battle space. The 402nd is in Hawaii. So if you are in Hawaii, I can definitely link you with the 402nd Army Field Support Brigade that is there. Where you have any comms issue, the CCOM, our Life Cycle Management Command. That is almost like your direct link to make sure that your readiness is taken care of. But again, it is absolutely an honor to be on this forum with you guys. And again, just shout out to even Sergeant Mack. It has been so many years since we have served together in the 10th, waterborne family. But it is great to see that you continue to progress in your career, and I wish you nothing but the continued success to you. And then, of course, with Sergeant Bo, who have been referenced throughout this entire tenure, as you prepare for retirement, I wish you nothing but continued success to you. And Staff Sergeant Burry, you know the deal. I'm on Fort Bragg. If you need me, I'm just a phone call away. Matter of fact, you can just drive down Button Road.
Don't tell her that.
You can find me.
She's gonna call you all the time now. Don't do that.
Yeah. Hey, I mean it sincerely. And of course, Sergeant Major Richardson, it's been an honor. If you need me, hey, anybody, y'all need me, I'm just a phone call away. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Sergeant Major Bo, other than wanting to shout me out, who you want to shout out?
So, shout out to everybody on the panel. Ladies, it's a pleasure doing this with you. Where have y'all been my whole career? Why don't I know y'all? That's how I feel. Awesome. It is awesome to know that the Army has such dynamic female leaders, and it's awesome to know that you have fan groups. It's good because mentorship is important. We need leaders that are approachable and emphatic and empathetic. So shout out to y'all for being on here. Shout out Sergeant Waterbury. Wish you the best in your career. My son Don, who you already know. Wish you the best in yours. Shout out to the career counselors. Hey. 79 Sierras. Shout out to the recruiting and retention college, specifically the retention department. My group of instructors up there. Shout out to y'all. Much love. All the chiefs I've served with, past and present. Corey, Hart, shout out. And shout out to my instructor team. That's my last shout out. Everybody I instructed with at Fort Jackson SSI back where we were there. Yeah, we were at Fort Jackson. It used to be nice there. It was not Fort Knox.
It was not.
Shout out to my instructor group. Love y'all. And again, like the lady said before, I am retiring, but my number's not changing. So if you have my number, if you have access, you always have access to me. If you need my number, you can get my number, but you always have access to me. I'm here for you. I'm here to listen, here to talk, here to give you honest feedback. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Awesome.
No, thank you so much, Jabo. And y'all don't really even know how much I had to beg her to be on here tonight. Like I had to it was like I had to promise her, like my next of kin, like I had to promise her to get on. Waterbury, Shantae, who you want to shout out this week?
Well, I don't know if it's a shout out, but my most sincerest thank you to each and every one of you leaders that is on this panel tonight. This show has been like so special to me. Like I can't even put it into words how amazing this show was tonight for me. I really hope that everyone watching, and even if you're not watching us live right now and you might watch this show later, like I really hope you take something from this. And as all these leaders have said, they are always, an email away, or, you could be like me and Facebook stalk them too. But, I'm really thankful for you guys. And thank you so much for coming on here tonight.
I just want to thank y'all all again. Y'all have been amazing guests. This has been an amazing discussion. Like it's been an hour and it's flew by just so fast. Really want to shout y'all out. I really appreciate y'all. Sergeant Major Richardson. Hopefully one day I get to meet you. I met the other two. They're amazing leaders, and you seem like an amazing leader. So if y'all haven't noticed, I haven't been on the show the last couple of weeks. I was dealing with something, right? So I want to shout out. What I want to shout out is the Living Donor Program. I had a family member that needed a kidney, and so I was going through the donor process. I was getting testing done. I was not able to do it. So with the testing, I didn't match. I went through the first couple of tests and I passed it. I put out there that please, there's 114,000 Americans that are waiting for a organ every day. There's 10 people that die from it every day. There's 60 people added to the list every day. If you can, go to donate or organdonor.org and sign up. A lot of people, we don't realize it, and it's out there and you can do it. And there's other steps for the military. So if you want to do it and you're in the military, reach out to me and I can put you on the right path. Appreciate everybody. Thank y'all so much. This has been a great conversation. I like sitting in the back because I can play PlayStation while y'all are talking and I don't have to, it don't make me look like I'm doing anything. Mm-hmm. But I really appreciate y'all. All right. Hey, everybody, we'll have another show next week. We'll shout you out. We'll put out more information. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.